Thank you very much for that. Hello, everybody. My name is Frances Crook, and I'm the Chief Executive of the Howard League for Penal Reform based in London. This session is on the impact of problem gambling on patterns of crime and societal harms and innovative responses. I'm just going to say a few words to introduce the session, and then I'm going to introduce our speaker, Andrew Nielsen. And we want to hear from you. We want to hear what's going on in other countries. That's the purpose of this session, is to share information and to share ideas. I just want to say a few words about the Howard League for Penal Reform. We're a UK-based NGO founded over 150 years ago, and we work for less crime, safer communities, and fewer people in prison. We do research, we run campaigns for change, for penal reform, and we have a legal team which represents children and young adults in custody, supporting them and taking legal cases to achieve change, both individual change and systemic change. We are independent of government, we are independently funded, and we guard that independence very fiercely. We are very proud to be part of the this event, the Crime Congress. We have been represented at crime congresses for many years and have held ancillary events. And in fact, we were one of the very first NGOs to gain consultative status in 1947. So we've been working with the UN as an NGO for decades. Now, as I said, the purpose of this session is to share information. Andrew Nielsen will explain why we're concerned and what the work that we're doing, but we're particularly interested in hearing from other people what's going on around the world. So I want to introduce Andrew Nielsen, who is the Howard League's Director of Campaigns. He's also a member of the commission, which we've set up to look at the issue of crime and problem gambling. And he's going to explain what the commission is doing, our concerns, and what the issue is. Andrew, I'm going to hand over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to share my screen. So, good afternoon. It is estimated around 2 million adults in the United Kingdom experience some level of harm from problem gambling. Almost 1 in 5 of those adults will have gambling disorder. Gambling disorder is a recognised mental health condition, and the World Health Organization defines it as an addictive behaviour with implications for mental health. One academic study of an English male prison found that problem gambling was reported among 27.8% of the prisoners sampled. One Australian survey reported that 11% of pathological gamblers reported engaging in gambling-related illegal activity. Today, I'm going to talk about this issue of problem gambling and how it relates to crime. This is an overview of what I will cover. So to begin with, just to recap on what Frances said about the Howard League for Penal Reform, our jurisdiction of concern is England and Wales within the United Kingdom. We were founded in 1866, and the statue in this slide is that of John Howard, for whom we are named after. Howard is commonly considered the first prison reformer. Today we campaign for less crime, safer communities, fewer people in prison. We are an independent NGO, receiving no direct government funding, and we have both UN and Council of Europe consultative status. And as Frances explained, we take varied approaches to achieving the change we want to see. We campaign for changes in policy and practice, using public affairs and the media. We're also a legal practice, representing children and young people in custody under the age of 21. And we are a research hub with an advisory group of academics, a biannual international conference, and an academic journal the Howard Journal of Crime and Justice. One of our special interests is in breaking new ground and looking at issues in criminal justice which are being ignored. On this slide, I give 3 examples of topics where we've launched inquiries or programmes of work to shed light and raise the profile of issues among policymakers. So, for example, a decade ago, we launched an inquiry into former armed service personnel in prison. In 2013, we ran a commission which investigated the topic of sex in prison at a time when government ministers insisted that sex was not happening in their prisons. And more recently, we have been conducting a programme of work to end the criminalisation of children living in residential care. So our latest project in that strand of work looking to break new ground is the Commission on Crime and Problem Gambling. And I want to begin by summarising what one person has told us about their own experience of problem gambling and crime. So to quote, "I am 54 years old. The occasional and social bet for over 2 decades turned into an all-consuming addiction from literally the moment I placed my first online bet. Over a period of 7 years, I gambled away all of my savings, reached limits on numerous credit cards, and took out numerous loans and payday loans to fund my gambling. Sadly, I started to steal from my workplace to feed my addiction. Over a period of 4 years, I stole around £192,000 until I could no longer carry on what I was doing and confessed to my crime. I received a custodial sentence of 27 months. In this particular gentleman's case, it later transpired that a gambling operator had repaid some of the money he stole and paid the gambling regulator £1 million for failings in their responsibilities to identify him as a problem gambler when dealing with him as a customer. Not only does that raise interesting questions as to culpability, whose fault was this, but this gentleman's experience of the criminal justice system was purely one of punishment, the custodial sentence he received for the crimes he committed while suffering from gambling disorder. There were no interventions offered to help him whilst in prison, and no opportunities taken at earlier points in his journey through the criminal justice system to divert or signpost him to relevant services in the community. Gambling disorder does not merit the same sort of consideration that alcohol or substance misuse might bring. This despite the fact it is now a recognised mental health condition, as I said at the beginning of my remarks. How did the Howard League become aware of problem gambling and its links to crime? We run annual awards for organisations that work to keep people out of the criminal justice system. In 2017, Cheshire Police and a charity called the Beacon Counselling Trust won one of our awards for developing a diversion pathway for problem gamblers who came to the attention of local police officers. Discussions in Cheshire made it clear to us there was very little being done elsewhere in the country on this issue. The Howard League decided to remedy this and begin our own investigations. We established the Commission on Crime and Problem Gambling in June 2019. It is chaired by Lord Goldsmith QC, as pictured on the slide. He leads a commission of 16 individuals, comprising of academics and professionals with expertise in criminal justice, public health, the gambling industry, and with lived experience of gambling addiction. The commission is running for 3 years and seeks to answer 3 questions. What are the links between problem gambling and crime? What impact do these links have on communities and society? And what should be done? So let me provide a brief overview of what the Commission has been doing. Key to our work is gathering evidence. The Commission has been holding a series of oral evidence sessions and has already begun making policy submissions to government. Visits to foreign jurisdictions were planned but are on hold due to the pandemic. Similarly, an international conference at the University of Oxford postponed from 2020, will now take place in the autumn of 2022. The Commission has also published a literature review in order to identify gaps in academic research. The literature review was comprehensive, but it did primarily reveal a lack of knowledge worldwide. Jurisdictions we looked at included Australasia, the United States of America, Canada, Germany, Scandinavia, and the United Kingdom. While there was limited published research across these jurisdictions, there was a consistency in the findings that has provided helpful pointers for the Commission's work. Firstly, there was a high prevalence of crimes being committed to fund gambling. Unfortunately, we have no hard and fast figures to assess the seriousness of problem gambling when it comes to offending. Most of the detailed research on the prevalence of crime among gamblers has taken place with two communities: gamblers who have presented for treatment and within incarcerated populations. This skews the research. There is likely to be a significant amount of unreported and undetected crime by problem gamblers. It may also be the case that crimes remain unreported because affected family, friends, or even employers may not want to report the offence. Secondly, there was some interesting findings relating to the types of crime. We see not just white-collar crime, such as fraud, which tends to be the focus of the limited media coverage on problem gambling and crime, but also offences in public spaces, such as street robbery. People in the depths of gambling disorder may not even understand that what they are doing is a crime. Where money is stolen from employers or family members, those committing the crime often see themselves as borrowing the money, with the hope of paying it back from future gambling wins. Finally, we saw other related harms. There is concerning evidence of domestic abuse and child neglect linked to problem gambling behaviours. So the Commission is now exploring how to build our knowledge. What exactly is the prevalence of gambling-related crime in the UK? What is the nature of links between gambling and crime? What are the characteristics of problem gamblers who commit crime? And what do the answers to these questions mean for policy and practice? In order to answer these questions, we have launched a number of small research projects. The first project is surveying and interviewing sentencers to explore their understanding and treatment of the problem gamblers who come before them in the courts. That research should be published in the next month or so. Our second project is exploring people's lived experience of crime and problem gambling. And further research is forthcoming and will start to fill those gaps in knowledge that the Commission's literature review has uncovered. So why are we here today? We are here today at the 14th United Nations Congress on Crime Prevention and Criminal Justice to hear from all of you. Is problem gambling an issue in your nation? Are people coming before the police and the courts who may have offended because of their gambling disorder? Is this a hidden harm that criminal justice professionals in your jurisdiction are not aware of? Could our understanding of crime and problem gambling, so limited as it currently is, point to the tip of an iceberg? The Howard League hopes that our Commission will have lessons for countries around the world. But right now we are at the start of the conversation, and we hope to start it. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Very comprehensive overview of what we're doing and why we're doing it. And really, the point of this session is to hear from other people and to ask the question, what is going on in other countries? As Andrew pointed out, we did carry out we commissioned a literature review, which showed some research in some jurisdictions, and that people were started to be aware that it's a growing problem, but there seems to be very little work going on. This session is being recorded, and I think is going to be made available fairly quickly. We'll put it on our website, and hopefully the conversation will continue, and people will get in contact with the Howard League, look at our website, and I'm sure when we publish our research, if people can keep an eye out for that, because it is groundbreaking. It's the first of its kind, and other jurisdictions apart from the UK and England and Wales will start to understand what's going on in their countries as well, because it will be similar. Obviously, there'll be different cultural, national, historical differences, but the issue is international, and is growing, and will become a serious problem for criminal justice systems, criminal justice agencies around the world. I want to say thank you. Thank you for your questions. Thank you, Aki and Anna, for helping us and for facilitating this session. We appreciate the help we've had from the UN and all the staff and everybody, and Gary in Japan. We will be engaging with you again in the future. But thank you very much for your support. Thank you for your participation, and more work to be done. Thank you.
Thank you.